Hi, I'm abstract artist Julie Pritchard, and I'm here today to share everything I know with you about masking tape. Over about the past year and a half or so, I have taped thousands of paintings using masking tape, and I've found a couple of brands that I think work the best, but more importantly, I've learned there's a lot to the application and removal process that is equally important. Here's the video. A little over a year ago, I started mailing hundreds of art lessons to clients all over the world, featuring an individual mini painting which explained the lesson. It was imperative that these looked as good as possible for all of the customers, but also I wanted to make sure that the edges were super crisp and clean, and that process was a huge learning curve for me. I came to find out a couple of things. The longer the tape is on the project, the more difficulty you're going to have in removing it. So I try to get my tape off those paper projects in no more than 3 days. When you apply the tape, I eyeball it. I want to make sure I go over each piece of tape after I apply it with my finger or with a tool like a bone folder to make sure that there is absolutely no air gap between the paper and the tape. I also realized that art tape that is low tack has a better chance of coming off the paper clean than a tape like, for example, general masking tape or Scotch Blue, which is something that I would use on my wood panels or canvas because they're more durable. Another thing that I discovered when I was mailing those art lessons is that papers that are coated tend to tear more easily and more frequently than papers that are not coated. For example, all of those art card lessons are mailed on Bristol paper. I originally started to try to make the lessons on acrylic paper, and acrylic paper, the texture on this brand specifically is like a coat, and you can kind of see it if you look really closely at the edge of the sheet. You can get your fingernail in there and peel apart the paper. What happens is when you're taking off the tape, a lot of times that coating will come with the tape and it's not cute. When you're applying the tape to a project like a wood panel or a canvas, and I don't tape very much on canvas, but definitely when you do put masking tape on canvas, for sure use the bone folder technique to make sure that it applies super well to the canvas, because canvas is not an even texture. So it's really important to use the bone folder to go over the tape several times when you're putting it on canvas. On wood panel, what I discovered is that you don't want the tape to come up over the edge of the panel. So it takes a really critical eye to make sure that the tape is exactly placed at the edge, or even like a very tiny amount lower than the top of the panel, because anywhere that the tape is over the top, and I test it by rubbing my hand across this way, if I can feel the edge of the tape here, I know that my tape is too high, and it's honestly just a very minute amount. That is where I'm going to get bleed. Now, the easy thing about working with wood is sometimes if it's a light bleed, you can sand it off to keep your edge crisp and clear. But I really like how the tape provides a super nice, clean look on the edge of the wood panel. So when I tape wood, I will sometimes do the same piece over and over to make sure that that tape is not sticking up higher than the edge of the wood. It's also really helpful on wood to make sure that the piece of tape on the edge is one piece per side, because the smaller pieces give you more of an opportunity for bleed, just because the number of open edges there are on the tape. So what I do when I'm removing the tape is, in a well-ventilated area, I use a heat gun, and I run the heat gun over the tape. I do each side individually because I just don't want there to be any opportunity for the glue to cool. I'll run the heat gun and then slowly lift up the tape. This is very important. If you're lifting up the tape and the paper starts to pull, stop lifting the tape heat the tape again and pull from the other direction. Because what can happen is on the second pass, the tape may release and then you're left with just a little piece of the paper that has pulled up, and you can patch it back down with any adhesive. There's a few tapes that I've started buying on a regular basis. I use this wide tape in Scotch Blue or in the Blick brand to fix my wood panels. This is just a traditional roll of blue 3M tape from the home store that is good for anything that's 1 inch. I use this low tack masking art tape that I buy on Amazon, and I'll link it below for you, on all paper projects. I'm having a very high success rate on lifting this tape off of my projects with using the heat gun. And I think that it's a really good value for the amount of tape that you get. It comes in a lot of different widths, so you can find one that best suits your needs. So always remember, the longer the tape stays on your substrate, the more difficulty you're going to have in removing the tape when you're finished. Always use a heat gun to get a clean lift if your tape is sticking too much, and you can use low tack tape on delicate projects and get a better result. I hope this video is helpful for you. Check out my other videos on texture mediums and fixture and varnish in my profile, and if you have any questions, leave them below. There's always a lot to see on juliepritchard.com, so stay tuned and I'll see you there.